Employees at AdventureWorks use Microsoft Office InfoPath forms and the built-in approval workflow available in SharePoint Server 2007 to streamline their expense reporting process. Ray Chow, a marketing manager at AdventureWorks, needs to file an expense report for his latest business trip. To get started, Ray clicks the link to the Team Expense Reports library on the marketing team site. The Marketing Expense Report form is set up as a content type in the library so that team members can use it to create reports. To create a new expense report, Ray clicks Marketing Expense Report on the New menu. When he selects the option to create a new expense report, the InfoPath form opens in a browser window. Ray can complete the form directly in the browser, even though he does not have InfoPath 2007 installed on his computer. The expense report form is customized to display different views based on the workflow status of the form. At this stage in the workflow, Ray sees the draft view of the form. This view is customized with colors and information that tell him how to complete the form. When Ray uses a workflow to submit the form for approval, the view will change and the approver will see a slightly different view of the form. Ray enters all the information to complete the form, such as the business purpose for his expenses and his employee identification information. In the Itemized Expenses section, he enters information about the date, description, category, and cost of each expense. To provide more information about his first expense, he clicks the Details button. A new portion of the form appears under Item Details. Ray enters more information here about his first expense. To add more expenses, he returns to the Itemized Expenses section and clicks Add Expense. Ray thinks using the browser-based form is much easier than the paper forms they used to use. He can correct mistakes easily and add as many rows as he needs. When he has finished entering all the information about his expenses, he reviews the form. When he is satisfied that his expense report is complete and accurate, he clicks Save to save his updated form to the site. He types a name for his expense report and then clicks Save. To return to the Team Expense Reports library, he closes the form. When the form closes, Ray can see that his newly completed expense report is saved in the library. Now that he has finished filling out his expense report, Ray needs to submit it for approval so that he can be reimbursed for his expenses. To start an approval workflow, he points to his expense report, clicks the arrow to display the menu, and then clicks Workflows. He clicks Approve Expense Report to select the workflow that his team has customized for the expense report approval process. Because the workflow is already customized for his team, the names of the two people who need to approve the expense report are already on the approvers line. Ray does not have to remember the details about the process. This is a serial workflow, which means that tasks will be assigned to one person at a time in the order in which names appear on the approvers line. First, an approval task will be assigned to Ray's manager, Connie. Then after Connie completes her task, an approval task will be assigned to Jessica Arnold in the accounting department. In the Request Approval form, Ray types a message to include with his approval request. The due date information for the approval task has already been specified. He does not need to change this. To start the workflow, he clicks the Start button. When the workflow starts, the server creates a workflow task for Connie, the first approver. When the workflow starts, Ray is automatically returned to the Team Expense Reports library. The Workflow Status column for the Approve Expense Report workflow indicates that the workflow is in progress. He can also check the status of a workflow that is in progress by clicking Workflows on the menu for the form. Ray can see that the workflow he just started is listed under Running Workflows. To view the status of this workflow, he clicks the name of the workflow. The Workflow Status page displays information about the workflow. The Workflow Information section of the page displays a summary of the workflow and links that Ray can use to update the workflow. The Tasks section of the page lists all of the tasks as they are created for the workflow. Ray can see that the workflow has already created a task for the first approver of the expense report, his manager Connie. After Connie completes her task, a task will be created for Jessica. The Workflow History section lists the history of all of the actions in the workflow. It lists the time Ray started the workflow, the participants in the workflow, and when the first task in the workflow was created. When the workflow is complete, this section will serve as a record of the entire approval process. Now let's see what it's like for an employee at AdventureWorks to approve an expense report. Connie Bretos, who manages the marketing team at AdventureWorks, must approve all of the expense reports for her team. In her Office Outlook 2007 inbox, Connie receives a workflow task email message that tells her Ray's expense report is ready for approval. She opens the message. To review the expense report, Connie clicks the link to the form in the message. The expense report form is customized to display a different view depending on the status of the workflow. When Ray's expense report opens in the browser, Connie can clearly see that the form is pending approval. The customized view of the form that Connie sees is blue, and the text tells her that the form has been submitted for approval. The information on this view of the form appears in a different order from the view that Ray completed. The Manager Information section has moved to the bottom, and it includes an extra text box for Manager Comments. After she reviews the expenses, Connie types a comment in the Manager Comments box. To save her comments to the form, she clicks Save. To update the workflow task and approve the expense report, she goes back to Outlook and then clicks the Edit this task button in her workflow task email message. She types a comment in the approval task form. The comment will be saved with the workflow history information. To officially approve the expense report, Connie clicks the Approve button. After she approves the form, the workflow creates an approval task for Jessica Arnold, the accounting manager who will provide final approval for the expense report. This newly created task now appears in both the Tasks and Workflow History sections of the Workflow Status page for this workflow. When a workflow is complete, the person who originally started the workflow receives a message from the server. Ray Chow receives an email message alerting him that the workflow for his expense report is complete. He opens the message. The message indicates that all participants have completed their tasks and his expense report is approved. The body of the email displays a summary of the approval comments from Connie and Jessica. Ray reads Jessica's comment and sees that he will be reimbursed for his expenses during the next pay period. Ray is happy to receive this news so quickly. The team's new expense report process with workflow and info path forms is much faster than their old paper process. When he goes to the Team Expense Reports library, he sees that the word Approved now appears in the Workflow Status column next to his expense report. When Ray opens his expense report form, he sees that the view is very different from the view of the form that he filled out. This view of the form is now green instead of red, like the one he filled out. The View menu indicates that this is a final view. The text says that the form has been approved and that it cannot be changed. Finally, the Manager Information section has moved to the bottom of the form and includes a new section with Manager Comments from Connie. Ray likes the way the report form responds to the workflow because he can determine the workflow status of an expense report simply by viewing the original form. This is just one of the ways in which Office SharePoint Server 2007 can help organizations improve their internal business processes.